Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, hermanas y hermanos, bienvenido and welcome to another edition of the Live from the Heartland Show. This is Michael James. I'm joined here today by my pal Thom Clark.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Thom. And Katie Hogan is off doing good work. She is at some event, the United States of Women, that was put together by the White House. Who knows what they'll come up with, but I know it'll be good for the country. And we'll welcome you back next week, Kate. I hope you're listening in on your way to this program you're involved with. That was Study No More War, Study War No More, to get it correct. And that is a great little tune. I'm not sure who it was. Who was that, Thom?
Well, everyone has played this song, but this was Playing for Change, which is this wonderful international group.
Oh, I see it on YouTube.
It's a group sing that does a lot of conventional folk music, but they do it from voices and musicians from around the world. Check it out on YouTube. We're going to feature other Playing for Change segments in the course of the day this morning, in the course of the program. It's just a lot of really nice music, heartfully done by really great performers from around the world.
Yeah, for the listeners who want a little more detail, they start with one guy singing a song, and the next thing you know, there's someone in Brazil singing along and playing, and then you got someone over somewhere in Africa, and it builds into this kind of choir chorus. It's pretty wonderful.
And the whole idea down by the riverside, besides the fact that we need to study war no more, is that we've had a bit more water than the region is used to in the middle of summer. And the folks up north of us particularly are really grousing. This is spring floods that they're now having in the middle of July. And the Wisconsin flow hasn't quite come into the state yet. So
it's going to be higher than ever.
Folks in the Chain of Lakes area and along the Des Plaines and Fox River are in, they're in a lot of sandbagging going on. My wife, who works at the Chicago Botanic Garden, it's closed because the Skokie Lagoons just kind of flood into Botanic Garden. The big lake there, if you've been there recently, is even bigger, and apparently will be for about another 5 days.
And we're downtown, and Lake Michigan is up against our windows, lapping at the window. It is like, oh, I hope the window holds.
But it's a nice sunny day.
It is a beautiful sunny day for a flood.
But it could, we will have shortly someone to come on and give us an update on the Deep Tunnel project, which of course is more focused on the city and keeping floods out of the city. But I know folks along the north branch of the Chicago River, in Albany Park and West Ravenswood and all that, they're nervous about this flow, even though that water flow is a lot more regulated at that point. If you've gone over any rivers the last couple of days, the channel up to Wilmette, the rivers, they're all right at flood stage or going over their banks already. We're learning a lot more about wetlands and what they're like in the summer. Yeah,
I don't mean to skew this too much, but since you mentioned the Deep Tunnel, I have to recollect that I played the part of a bad guy in the movie Chain Reaction, and we were working in a fake deep tunnel construction. It was pretty interesting. That's the closest I got to the Deep Tunnel.
Well, we'll do an update soon as we're trying to do more about water, since we sit right here on the fresh coast next to the 20% of the world's freshwater drinking supply. And we need to do more to protect it and make sure it stays that way for our kids and their kids.
Recently I was traveling around chasing my kids' band. That would be Twin Peaks up in Canada. And coming back we hugged Lake Ontario along the coast. Then we went down on one of those finger lakes. And then we hugged Lake Erie. And we got our feet in the water in both cases, and we took in a lot of history. But it's pretty wonderful to see these large bodies of water. And people who are in the city most of the time and don't get over to the lake, they need to take more advantage of this great natural resource, the inland seas of the heartland, the Great Lakes.
Michael, we've spent a lot of time, particularly with our reporter friends the last few months, talking about not only coverage of all things political and how things have turned out on that front, but the shifting media landscape. And working journalists work today to actually get us the news we need, and the consolidation of media ownership. Well, we had a biggie this week in Chicago.
Whoa, did we not?
An amazing group led by Edwin Eisendrath, a former independent alderman from many years ago.
Wasn't he the 46th Ward?
43rd Ward.
43rd Ward.
And he was somewhere there in between Bill Singer and whoever came next. But he tried to run for what became Jan Schakowsky's seat against Sid Yates, maybe one campaign too early, and then was a regional administrator.
That's the same one Pritzker tried to get at one time.
and then was a regional administrator for HUD, and worked on federal housing policy. And he's come in with the Chicago Federation of Labor, and they have bought the Sun-Times for $1, which includes the reader, and they have about 3 years of operating money raised, over $11 million. Sun-Times has been losing $3 million a year, so they basically have a little basket of resources to cover operating. And we'll see if they can build the product back up, because that's the biggest problem with the Sun-Times and any newspaper right now, is finding readers willing to pay for the journalism.
Well, I always enjoyed the Sun-Times more than the Tribune, because the Tribune was more conservative, and I like the format, the tabloid of the Sun-Times. I love their sports section, and maybe I'm going to start reading it more regularly. We even get a subscription.
Well, I think that's the best thing that we could do to protect a more progressive voice. I don't mean just a labor voice, but something that is right of center, left of center, and is not libertarian. Quite frankly, I'd prefer a conservative Tribune over what we have now. But I'm not sure what it is.
So we don't quite know the politics of these people?
In terms of the, I know it's libertarian. Where are they at?
Well, they're not where we're at.
I mean, they've been full square behind this governor and don't agree with him. But we'll leave the governor's stuff for our guest in a few minutes.
Just in case you can't wait to know who that guest is.
There was another big piece of news this week. You Southsiders lost your ace pitcher to we Northsiders.
We did.
That development.
And Jose Quintana, he's from Colombia. And I don't know how many ball players are from Colombia, although I watched the World Baseball Classic, and they got some great ball players playing in the Major League coming from all over the world. But I really have always liked Jose Quintana. He's sort of a hard luck guy. He's got a great ERA, that's earned run average. He's a very cool pitcher. He never got much run support from his team, and he was a little bit in the shadows of Chris Sale. Last year he came on a bit, as much as the Sox could come on. And this year he's just getting back on track, throwing some great games. And I heard there was a trade, a blockbuster trade, where the Cubs got some hotshot player from the White Sox. Turned out to be Jose Quintana. And the White Sox got a number of really hot prospects.
This is the part of this trade that bothers me, because
so
at least 2 of those 4 could be worth a lot more than a pitcher for this year at this time. But no doubt we got a great ace pitcher who, based on the morning papers, he is so excited about this move.
Well, I had the
I think because he feels he's going to have some hitters behind him.
Yeah, I think it will be good.
Maybe those hitters will finally wake up.
I confess to being at an event with Theo Epstein and having a little chat with him, and confessing to my son's chagrin that the Cubs and Twin Peaks have been good to Twin Peaks. That I was a White Sox fan. I gave him some reasons, but I got to say that I'm watching the Cubs games more, and I'm really feeling like we're very fortunate to have 2 teams in the baseball world here in our town.
Sort of like having a 2 newspaper town.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're a good town. We got to keep the deuces going. 2 baseball. Maybe we'll get another basketball team, another football team. Who knows?
So I want to remind people, right after this radio show, you should make your way over to the Heartland Bar, the former Red Line Tap.
It's nice in there these days.
The next Network 49 Community Canvas will be taking place. Come with a neighbor, get a little bit of training, and go out and talk with your neighbors about the neighborhood and what they'd like to see happening over the next 5 years. That's from 10:30 to 2 today, part of our summer-long community canvas that Network 49 is doing. And please mark in your calendars July 26th. That is our next general membership meeting at Loyola Park from 7 to 9 p.m. We are going to be looking at building up community power. And we'll be featuring Amanda Weaver, who's with Reclaim Chicago, and the People's Lobby, who's been doing this kind of work for a number of years. If you know what's been going on in the 35th Ward, or want to know who was behind Will Gazzardi getting back into the legislature, or John Arena being reelected, it's groups like Reclaim have been doing that kind of hard door-to-door work and organizing neighbors, which is what we want to do in the 49th Ward.
Well, there was a story about Reclaim somewhere that I haven't seen. Anyone seen it?
There's a big story in the Nation this week looking at Carlos in the 35th Ward, and how you can be a progressive but effective alderman. I think it was a very, very interesting story, because it shows how you can go up against the powers that be but still get stuff done, which he's learned how to fill potholes. along with, you know, trying to keep some of the development pressures facing this community at bay.
Well, that's good.
So I think as we go into our next segment, we want to kind of set it up with another Planning for Change thing. Alex is taking over for Nolan today, and the engineer, and we'll talk with Alex a little bit later in the show. But Alex, why don't we play a little bit of Ripple, as you've never heard it?